Vinnie, welcome back. Let's chat about keto and nutrition and meat and all the great stuff that I love.
Yeah, Chuck, thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. One of my favorite shows. I always tell
You do a
this.
lot of podcasts, right?
I do my own podcast. I've done well over 2,500. Been on Corolla show over 100 times. Um, Mike Rowe, I'm getting ready to go on that one for the third time. But
Oh, that's awesome.
do I just named some pretty heady podcasts, right?
Yeah.
I will do anyone. I've done people's first podcast for them where they'll go, I have 0 listeners. I don't care. Everyone starts somewhere, and I will do, and I do. Anyone who will ask me, they'll go, wow, I can't believe you're coming on. This is my first show. And I go, how many? It's like, no, this is my first show. I don't have any listeners yet. It's like, all right, let's knock it out. Let's make this happen, And then there's everything in between. So I love doing podcasts and I love talking to people. So here we are.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you like helping people out. Because if I remember from the first interview that we did, I mean, I was trying to ask you, drill you about being a celebrity trainer and working with all these celebrities. And you said, yeah, that's okay. But I really like working with beginners more. You like to teach people that are not in shape at all how to get in shape.
Yeah. The celebrities are one thing. They're easy, right? Because people think of celebrities, and I'm probably repeating myself, but here goes. People think celebrities are like rolling around in Bentleys and, down streets with, palm trees and the whole thing. Trust me, when The Rock wakes up in the morning, he's working out first thing in the morning, right? When Stallone you go, oh my God, Stallone, he's working out first thing in the morning. No matter how much money, how much celebrity they have, J-Lo is waking up. I bet she's dancing in her sleep, right? These people who become huge celebrities, the actors that really hone their craft, they're doing that constantly. They're constantly taking acting class. I'll give you the best example. Neil Peart, arguably one of the best rock and roll drummers of all time. Definitely in the top 2 or 3.
From Rush.
Rush, yeah. Keith Moon is in that group, and John Bonham and Neil Peart. People will argue which one was the best of all time, right? Okay. When Neil died, untimely death, the man was still very young, late 60s, early 70s. About a year or 2 ago, I read a thing that said he was still taking drum lessons. Now, can you imagine the coach? Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, right? Can you imagine the coach that when Neil Peart shows up and goes, "Hey, man, can you give me a drum lesson?" But that's what type A personality people do, right? I'm going to name drop my good friend Howie Mandel. Howie's got money stacked on top of money, right? He's done very well in his life. He never has to work another day in his life. He goes on the road almost every weekend. He gets in a plane and goes on the road to do a gig. And it's like, why are you doing that? He goes, because I'm a comedian. This is what I do, right? So when people go, man, celebrities, it must be difficult. I was like, no, they're not. They're motivated to look a certain way and do a certain thing. And they will do whatever it takes to get there. It's everyone else that you have to motivate, the non-type A personalities. And that's where my job gets difficult. And that's what I like to do. When the 400-pound person says to me, I can't get out of my own way. I can't figure it out. I've tried everything. Can you help me? That's when I get to work. That's when I go, oh, okay, now I have, this is something. This is not trying to get 7 pounds off of, someone who's a size 6 because she's got to walk a red carpet, right? No, this is a whole different ball of wax. And that's what I like to do. I didn't mean to go off into that soliloquy, but there you have it.
No, that's amazing. There's so much to unpack there. So first of all, I'm just curious, why do you think that is? I mean, obviously you don't know the inside of people's brains, but if working with celebrities, why do you think they're wired that way? Is it just something from birth, or is it something that happened to them where they're like, maybe they got picked on in high school and they're like, I'm going to show everybody that I'm going to be successful, or what is it that's still motivating them, especially after they've already achieved a level of success like Howie Mandel?
I don't know if it's something that's in you or something that you pick up. I could tell you personally, I famously talked about it in my book, Fitness Confidential. I was picked on as a kid. I had a speech impediment and I had all of this stuff. I still have a speech impediment. I just hide it a lot. I was largely picked on and just, got into scraps on the school ground constantly because I was constantly the butt of every joke. And it just wasn't good for me. And when I was a kid, I used to dream of being like a superhero. It's like, if I was a superhero, I could beat all these kids up. It's like you think what you think at the time, right? And that's what I was doing. And then I walked into, I meandered into a gym. And by the way, back in 1971, 72, when I was like 9 or 10, it wasn't like big box gyms and there weren't really gyms everywhere. I walked into this old, I thought he was old. He was my parents' age and a friend of my parents. They grew up together, this old Italian guy of maybe he was in his 20s named Joe Bonadonna. And he took me under his wing. And I quickly realized that, oh, if I lift these heavy things, and Joe was very gentle with me, he wouldn't let me do anything except body weight exercises at first, push ups, pull ups, squats without weights and that kind of stuff. But it gave me a sense of, I don't know, a sense of well being, a sense of accomplishment. When you did these things, it hurt. The next day, I would feel pain. When you're a kid, you don't know what's going on with your body. You're not aware of your body, right? This is prepubescent. But I was like, oh, when you do hard things, it hurts, and then you feel stronger and you can do more of it. It didn't take me very long to learn that. And then it didn't take me very long to understand that, oh, when you build this shield around your body, other kids are going to respect. And I got the respect I needed on the school ground. And started beating up somebody. I'm not telling kids to go out and do that, but that was
Right.
my thing. But that's when you say to yourself, by the time I did hit puberty and everything, it's like, oh, I'm not stopping this. This is what I'm doing. As a matter of fact, I'm taking it into overdrive. Now, I grew up on a bayou in Louisiana. No one leaves the bayou, right? If you listen to the song Proud Mary, that's kind of, left a good job in the city, going down to the river. Born on the bayou. I grew up in that, right? No one leaves. All I could think about was leaving because that allowed me to see other things. And interestingly enough, my wife is an actress. She's from England. She grew up in the countryside. They had nothing, right? Oddly enough, we used to watch the same television programs in our teens. And from the television programs, we went, oh, there are other things out there. Are buildings that are taller than 2 stories, right? And that show that we watched, one was Dallas, right? It was a show called Dallas when I was a kid. She was watching because these women wore glamorous clothes and she wanted to be that. I was watching because there was no bayou in any scene, right? It was just Dallas. And to me, that was probably the most popular city in the world in my brain. But we both saw the same thing. We would watch television and go, ooh, I want to be that. I want to be somewhere else, not here. And it allows you to leave a small village in England and the bayou in Louisiana. Does that give you a type A personality? I don't know. Maybe it was in us. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I know none of my brothers have it. And that's not a bad thing because they all work hard and they all do well and they're all very successful. But they never thought of picking up and leaving, right? People that go to LA pick up and leave and go to LA, if that makes any sense.
No, I think it does. I mean, to me, it seems like people, they just want to be happy. So they're going to do something. And whether that's a compulsive, like, I got to go on the road and I got to do comedy if you're Howie Mandel, or if it's like you, like, hey, I got to work out. I want to be strong. That's important to me. But then you look at the 400-pound person. I don't know that it's necessarily that they aren't motivated or whatever. They're just motivated by the wrong things, right? They're probably compulsively making sure they eat their snack every day, making sure they watch their TV shows or what, like they're doing something. They're just, you have to shift that behavior. It seems after doing over 400 of these episodes, so many rock stars I've had on, you'd be shocked at how many they follow this pattern of they get addicted to drugs and they're so into the drugs or whatever. And then they can't, there's not like, oh, we'll just kind of tone it down. It's like, it's a 180 where they go, I am totally sober. I'm into health now. And it's just like that switch is flipped, if that makes
You
sense.
know, well, I want to address the 400-pound person, because the 400-pound person is now 500 and 600 pounds and even more. I've never met a 400 or 500 pound person that wanted to be that weight. Now, I know sometimes you can look online nowadays and they're glorifying, hey, I'm 600 pounds and I want to get to 700. I've seen those videos and I really feel sorry for those young ladies and young men that are doing this mukbang eating and all this crap. I don't think they just feel like they're trapped. So I might as well go with this because I'm
Yeah.
famous for 5 minutes before I die. Everyone I work with, and I work with several people in the 400, 500, and 600 pound range, no one wants to be there. No one knows how they got there. None of them, right? They all said, yeah, when I was 200 pounds, I told myself I'd never see 220. And then when I was at 220, I told myself there's no way I'm going to see 250, to the point where when I ask people their weight, they'll say something like, I weigh 359 pounds and 3 ounces. They wouldn't say 360 or 350. They know exactly what they're weighing because they don't want to get to that next number, right?
Mhm.
And they keep failing up to that next number. And it's very, very hard. And they don't know how they got there, right? Because of what we've been lied to about in the world. Eat your grains, you can't get fat if you don't eat fat. Eat this carbohydrate laden diet. Have your heart healthy breakfast cereals. All the things that cause your hormones to go in the wrong direction. And these people think they're doing the right thing because medicine and commercials and everyone else is telling them this is the right thing. And it's the exact opposite of the right thing. So that's what a problem is. They think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And
One, I think we talked a little bit about this last time when we were talking about Lizzo and body shaming and body positivity. And I mean, my background's in psychology, but I just feel like it seems like a lot of this stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with like alcoholism and like enabling and how there's an enabler. Like usually there's somebody that's enabling their addiction by, covering up when they oversleep for their job and waking them out of bed when they're hungover, those kinds of things. I feel like we're enabling America to be unhealthy. We're saying, oh no, 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 you're beautiful just the way you are. Not to say that we should do the opposite and call them a bunch of names and bully them. And that's not good either. But I feel like it's enabling them to go, oh, well then I was kind of thinking maybe I should start a diet, but now everyone's saying that I'm beautiful the way I am. So maybe I should just keep eating unhealthy.
yeah, I'm with you on that. I have a couple of friends who were saved by AA, the 12-step program of AA. And I learned that the best way, I tell people all the time, they'll go, yeah, I got a friend, he's drinking too much, right? And we want to do a thing where we trap them in, what do they call that? A group thing.
Intervention.
It's like, you could do an intervention. It's not going to work. It's not, yeah, you might get them to go to some dry out center, but you're not getting them help. And I said, well, what should I do? And I'll say to them, you need to go to Al Anon. It's like, but I don't have a problem. It's like, no, you do have a problem. You need to go to Al Anon because the alcoholic is going to keep dancing as long as they have a dance partner. When you stop dancing with them, then they have to turn and look at themselves. They're on the dance floor by themselves and they feel silly and stupid, and maybe they'll go get help. I think you're right about that. The Lizzo thing, Lizzo's a very talented young lady and she is beautiful. Face, she's a good looking woman. You look at her face. But to sit there and say that her body is healthy, no. And we just saw it again. There was an Miss Alabama
Mm-hmm.
beauty contest. And this young lady can't be more than 18, 19, 20 years old. It is sad. It is so sad right? That she is the size that she is. She's not going to see her 30th birthday if she continues on that route. There's no way, right? Already she has to have fatty liver disease, sleep apnea, type 2 diabetes. I'm sure A1Cs are off the charts and high blood pressure and on and on and on. And to go, oh, this is the most beautiful girl in Alabama right now. Okay, I beg to differ. Is that what we're telling young ladies, to look like this is healthy? Absolutely not. Absolutely. And someone even said to me, it's like, wait a minute, did she win plus size Miss Alabama? It's like, no, no, no. Have you seen her, by the way, Chuck?
Oh
Do you know?
yeah. No, I know exactly. There was a lot of memes and stuff, and yeah, I mean, I saw it was all over the X or whatever, the Twitter. A lot of people were posting about it, and to me, yeah, I don't think it's like right to partake in the bullying and stuff, but I
No,
think it's also
absolutely.
just
You're
as
right.
bad to say she's beautiful and she's perfect how she is. I think that it's arguably more dangerous to someone's well-being, especially like you said, if she's not going to live to her 30s. I mean, that's you're killing her.
Let me give it to you a different way. If we had taken a girl, same age, let's say she's 5'7", above average height, and let's say she weighed 82 pounds.
Right.
She's terribly anorexic, right? Would we be celebrating this girl the way we're celebrating the girl in the opposite direction? Both of them are eating disorders. Both of them are very unhealthy, and both of them are close to death. To be that height and that weight, 82, 78 pounds, whatever, you're close to death. You're going to die, right? But we would never do that and go, oh, wait, this girl, let's applaud this girl for being 78 pounds. It would never happen. So why are we doing it in the opposite direction? It's ludicrous at best. Never
That's
thought of it that way. I'm looking at your face right now. You're going, hmm. In all my years of psychology, I've never.
yeah. No, that's a
But they're
really
both equally sick.
That's a great point. I mean, here's my thing is like, I don't know. You could say like, call me whatever you want to call me. And you say I have an agenda or whatever. Like, I just legitimately care about people. And for me, I care about myself too. And I'm trying to, take care of my own health. And I understand some of I mean, I was blessed with, I guess you could say somewhat good genetics in terms of like, like when I eat unhealthy, I've never gotten to 300 pounds or whatever, but I've been overweight and I've been felt sick and I look bad and I was tired and stuff. And then I started eating better and I start feeling better. And I'm like, man, this is the way. This is what we need to do. And I understand the temptation too, because there's a lot of amazing food in America. Like there's some great stuff and it is hard. It is not easy to just go, oh, okay, I'll just stop eating pizza and cinnamon rolls and chocolate and I'll just eat healthy every day. It's not like an easy fix, but it is an issue that I feel like needs to be addressed.
Yeah, and look, I feel like I addressed it in Fat a Documentary and then Fat 2. And those are two documentaries that, Fat a Documentary, as far as the documentary goes, is one of the most seen documentaries in the world. If anyone remembers, it was the year that that the one with Alex Hanno came out, and that was the number one documentary. It actually won the Oscar.
Is that the
That
free
was,
silo or
yeah, Free Solo guy.
free
Yeah,
solo? Sorry.
yeah, it's Free Solo. We toppled Free Solo for like several weeks, and then it was right when Aretha Franklin died, and there was a documentary on her that came out right at her death. That one toppled us, and then we beat that one out again and went to the top again, and then Free Solo came back again, and all right, so we remained at the top that year for a long time, right? And it's still the number one movie that Gravitas Ventures has ever put out. Not the number one documentary, the number one movie. Think of all the movies that Gravitas Ventures has put out over the years. That movie's number one. That's when I started getting shadow banned on things like, well, it was called Twitter at the time. I got shadow banned there. I got taken off of Wikipedia completely. Just my profile was removed. My hometown, like I was one of the celebrities from my tiny hometown. Removed from that, my wife is a celebrity. I was removed as her husband, and they reinstated her ex-husband as her husband.
What the fuck?
Look, if you want to sit around and talk about what really goes on in the world, all of a sudden, my numbers on, like if I put something on YouTube, I probably have, I don't know, at the time, my YouTube was growing all the time. I probably have 25,000 subscribers. They won't even show it to all of the subscribers. They won't even give them the opportunity to watch something I put up, right? That's what goes on when you disrupt what's happening in the world. That's what happens to you,
Mm.
right? I became a disruptor. I broke out, and then all of a sudden, my numbers everywhere. I'm still shadow banned on Meta, both Facebook and Instagram.
How do you know if you're shadow banned? Like you just see the numbers go down. I heard you talking about how you lost 7,000 subscribers on Instagram or something. Like you were about to hit 100,000 and then it went down like 7,000. It just made no sense.
Yeah, well, right when I got to right below 100,000, all of a sudden we started seeing it going in reverse. And then
Mm.
people started asking me, they were go, "Hey man, why did you take me? Why did you, I was following and you unfollowed me. Why did you do
Hmm.
that?" I was like, I don't, I don't unfollow anyone,
Mm.
right? And that was happening more and more. We noticed that they were, for every person that followed me, they were taking away zero point 0.3. So if I got 100 people on any given day, they got rid of 130 people or something like that.
Wow.
And that just kept going down like that all the way until I got to like 92,000. Like I just quit putting stuff on Instagram. I used to put stuff every day. And when I got to like 92,000, I figured out a way to beat the system. And I'm telling you that right
Oh,
now.
I need to know this because I feel like I got shadow banned, or maybe my content sucks. I don't know.
I'll tell you off the air what we're doing to get
Okay.
around it.
Okay.
It kind of works because we're back up to like, I don't know, 94, 95,000. I don't know where it is right now.
Mm.
But we figured out a way, but it's very difficult to do. As a matter of fact, because I'm in this business and I have people that work for me who know people who work at Meta, we contacted a guy over at Meta and said, "Hey, are they really shadow banning Vinny?" And he told my guy, he goes, "Let me look into it." He didn't go, "No, we don't do that." He goes, "Let me look into it," which
Oh,
means, yes, we do shadow ban. Let me see if he's on the list, right?
oh yeah,
So,
because Meta or X Twitter, there was a whole thing about that. The Twitter files or whatever.
oh yeah, yeah, I was locked down like you wouldn't believe over at Twitter. So he came back to my guy and the next day and he goes, "Yeah, he's at the, there's different rates that they shadow ban. I'm at the top rate that you could be shadow banned." And my buddy goes, "Is there anything that could be done?" He goes, "Yeah, he could spend a few $1,000s to do this, that, and the whole thing, but don't tell him not to do it." And my guy says, "Why not?" He goes, "Well, as soon as the person who banned him, one person banned me, just one vegan or something decided, fuck this guy, right?"
What the fuck? Are you
Yeah, this
serious?
is reality. We know this. He said, "Don't tell him to spend a dime on doing this because as soon as he does, and that person figures it out, they're going to lock him down again. So whatever money he spends, it won't matter. As soon as they see it, they're going to knock him down again." Yeah,
It's fucking scary to me. Like,
that's what
wow.
goes on. You know, and we wonder, oh, about elections and all this different. Oh yeah, that shit's happening on steroids for elections and everything else. You know, so that's the reality.
Yeah, that is scary. Like I had do you know Brian Sanders? He said he knew you because like he
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
this
Brian and I almost did a project together a
yeah.
long time. Yeah, good guy.
Yeah, it seems like he's kind of exposing a lot of his project is called Food Lies. That's his Instagram, and that's going to be the name of his show. And it's a lot of these things that we like. Basically, he did this research because his parents got sick and they had followed all the rules. They ate a bunch of bread and all this, and so he's like did his own research, which I know you're not supposed to do, and he found out a lot of the things we've been told are lies, and a lot of the stuff has already come out. Like, I mean, come on, does anybody really think eating 12 servings of bread a day is healthy?
Some people still do, because they go, "My doctor says this, Vinny. Why should I listen to you with your fancy physical education degree? I have a degree in exercise physiology and nutrition. Why should I listen to you when I can listen to a doctors know everything?" which they don't, right? They don't.
No.
People think I hate doctors. That is absolutely not true. Doctors have saved my life more than once.
And you've had doctors on your show. I just watched one today.
The reason I know doctors don't know everything is because I talk to doctors every Friday. I got 2,500 shows. On every Friday show, it's a doctor. I hate doctors? You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the one? I love the guy, Anthony Chaffee? The
Chaffee, depending
carnivore diet guy. I mean, he's like next level. Like, he doesn't screw around with, I mean, he's eating full meat diet. He's not eating any vegetables and carbs from what I can tell.
Yeah.
And he's a doctor.
He's straight carnivore. He's a good guy. Anthony and I are good friends. We don't hang out, but we're friends. I hate to say good friends. We don't hang out, right? But because for one, if he lived in my neighborhood, I would see him once a week. He lives in Australia. He's an American that lives in Australia.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, I see him from time to time in the States at different get-togethers and whatnot. Guy's as healthy as a horse. And he was a great athlete. He was a rugby player, a professional rugby player before he became an MD.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I look at him, I look at the Brian Sanders, I look at yourself. I mean, here's the thing: is like I was like arguing with somebody. They were saying I'm spreading misinformation for telling people to eat real meat instead of processed fake a vegan meat, whatever the frankenfood I think you call it. And I was like, well, do your own research. Go to the healthiest people that you can find and ask them, hey, what do you eat? What is your workout routine? What do you do? Do you get sunlight? Do you stay out of the sun? Like, ask the people that you think are the healthiest what they're doing, and then do what they're doing. And then look at and then do the same thing with the people who are the unhealthiest and say, hey, what are you doing? What's your workout routine? You avoid the sun, you stay inside, and then you'll figure it out. It's not rocket science. I don't think you need to be a doctor to figure this stuff out.
Look, I've always said, I'll throw myself in it. Take Sean Baker, who's probably 2 or 3 years younger than me. Take Anthony Chaffee. Take the aforementioned, the kid you just mentioned is
Brian Sanders.
Brian Sanders. Take the 4 of us, line us up, put us in Speedo swimming suits, and then take Dr. McDougall, Dr. Michael Greger, take Walter Willett from Harvard. That's 3 doctors. Let's get a 4th doctor in there. I don't know. Clapper. Line those people up, put those guys in swimsuits right next to us and say, okay, who are the healthiest looking guys? It's not even a contest. Hell, I'm a 62-year-old. I'm going to be 62. I'm ripped. Brian Sanders is ripped. Anthony Chaffee is ripped, right? Sean Baker looks like he can lift the world on his shoulders. Yeah, those doctors would say, oh yeah, those 4 guys, they look healthy on the inside, but somehow we're very unhealthy on the inside. And they would say, even though we look like shit on the outside, somehow magically we're very healthy on the inside. Who would buy that pile of bullshit?
No, this is what they're trying to tell. Like, that's the thing. Like, I was arguing with somebody. I was telling them, look, I am the research. I'm eating healthier. I'm exercising. I'm getting sunlight. I feel great. I look great. I am my own. I don't care what some study said from 1972 that said eat a bunch of bread. It's health. I need to do my own research that works for me. This works for me. If you can go vegan and what's that guy's name? Rich Roll.
Rich Roll is actually a very good friend of mine.
Yeah, he's vegan, right? That works for him. So find out what works for you, I guess,
look, and I'm talking about a guy who I consider a friend. We used to ride bikes together, right? We lived next to each other, and he's a good guy.
Yeah.
I would never say anything against Rich. What people need to realize is long before Rich became a vegan, Rich was a D1 athlete swimmer. His genetics are crazy good, right? Just crazy, great genetics. But then people started asking me, and I feel like I'm talking badly about a friend of mine, but I'm not. I'm just using the facts. People will say, well, Rich Roll did 5, he did it for his book because he did 5 Ironmans 5 days in a row, you know, yet he's never been in a full on Ironman competition where other people are. And you'll say, well, why won't he do that? And it's like, because then they would have to see that Rich wouldn't end up on the podium with the top guys. He won't even, so he won't be in the pro category. He won't even be in the second rate people that came in. He would be in the pack, coming in probably the third wave of people. And I'm just being honest because I know Rich and I know his abilities. Would he be the first guy out of the water? Probably, because the guy was an almost an Olympic class swimmer. So he might be the first guy out of the water, but by the time you got off the bike, he would be nowhere to be found. That's why he would never do those competitions, right? He had to go make up his own because to be in a real competition with other people, then it would be, wait, the vegan is nowhere near the front. And I feel like I'm saying something bad about a buddy of mine. I'm just stating the fact that as much as I love Rich, I'm not saying anything bad about Rich. I'm just saying that he would not be in the fray. No one's going to be quivering in their boots over Rich. Now, he's not going to be a 16 or 17-hour guy, but he's not going to be coming in at 8 hours either. And then that would shed light on, wait a minute. And you see, Rich is smart enough to know not to go do that. Am I making any sense?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. It's just, I mean, I think you would know better than me. I don't even know much about him. I know that he's vegan. And then I had this guy, it was a singer of the Cro-Mags. John Joseph is like a punk guy. And he said he's really good friends with Rich too. And they're both vegans. So I don't know. I'm just trying to think of there's probably some examples of, wasn't Schwarzenegger trying to go vegan for a little bit, or he was promoting it? Like,
no, Schwarzenegger did a thing when his buddy James Cameron, put a movie out, that movie about, they were basically selling pea protein in, whatever that movie was.
okay.
What was it called? Was it Game Changers or one of those?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. I think Game Changer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he got Arnold to help him promote it. And it was funny because Arnold was like, oh, yeah, I'm going vegan. Really, dude? Because like a week later, he was doing another video and he got called out. People want to know what I eat. And he opens his fridge and it's full of milk and eggs and everything else. It's like, well, how vegan are you? Right? It's like you were just saying something because James Cameron blew on a call to you and said, hey, I helped you make $1 gazillion. Would you mind saying this shit on social media? But, he's standing there with a cigar the next week, opening up his fridge going, oh, look at this. This is what I really eat. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. He doesn't have to care. He's got fuck you money. Arnold can say what he wants. He doesn't care.
Yeah. And it wasn't there. My trainer at the
Oh.
gym was telling me about, I forget the guy's name because I'm not into UFC or whatever, but there was some fighter that went vegan and then he like lost like a bunch, like 2 or 3 times in a row. And then I think he went like unvegan because it was like not good for his fighting.
Look, it's never going to work. It's never going to, I'm sorry. It's just not, and that's why in Game Changers, they were going, who's the strongest guy in the world? And I looked at it and went, wait a minute. I'm a nerd who follows the strongest guy in the world. Competition. I've never seen this guy, this Bajajian guy, whatever his name was. I don't know. Have the big mutton chops. So, number one, he doesn't look of the ilk of those guys, right? So I looked into the guy. Not only had he never been in a strongman competition ever, but some of his lifts were not even enough to be on some high school weightlifting teams. He wasn't strong enough to be, and they were going, he's the strongest man in the world. So then I started questioning, how can James Cameron put this in a movie if it's not true? And the part they muddled through or they get by is he was the strongest vegan in the world at a vegan weightlifting competition in some town in Texas.
Okay.
And the other one is like, well, we have this female runner from Australia. She's a vegan runner and she's an Olympic runner. I looked into her. She was never on television in the Olympics because she never made the heat to be on television, right? They usually show 3 or 4 or 5 heats. She she went to the Olympics for a country that's not known for its running. It's kind of like the Jamaican bobsledding team, right? They're not
Yeah.
expected to win. It's like, oh yeah, but they sent the team to the Olympics. They did a famous movie on it, the Jamaican, cool running, right? It was a nice movie and it's a heartfelt story, but they're not expected to win because Jamaica doesn't see a whole hell of a lot of snow.
Yeah.
Same with this, right? Anyone can go. Every now and then they'll show like the guy from Zimbabwe who everyone is out of the pool and he's still swimming. Like they're finished with the heat and he's still trying to get across the pool once and everyone cheers him on. Anyone can go to the Olympics for a country if the country will send them. It doesn't mean you're an Olympian, right? And that's what this girl was. Yeah, she went to the Olympics. She was a vegan. There's some high school girls that can beat her, right? Go to LSU. She's going to get beaten by every girl there, right? I know this, right?
You're
So
basically debunking this movie right now.
I could go on and on. Every person I looked into that was in that movie can be debunked in 2 seconds or less.
Wow. That's really eye-opening. Yeah, see, I feel like you're just spitting truth. Like, I don't know. And I've done a lot of research of my own into this stuff. And I mean, it seems like what you're saying, what Brian Sanders, what all these people are saying, there's a lot of truth in it. I mean, red meat has been demonized by the government and the media and all this stuff. But then, you do your research and it's like, no, it's actually got a lot. It's like one of the most nutrient dense foods that you can eat.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I was unfortunate enough to get leukemia 17 years ago. And, after my leukemia, once I was cured, they said, look, it's now chronic. I said, what does that mean? It's like, it's going to grow back. Leukemia is in your bone, it's in your bone marrow. It's going to come back. And I said, how long do I have before it comes back? And they said, about 5 years. Give it 5 years. And I said, and will it be? They said, yeah, the same drug. We'll beat it again with the same drug. But I started thinking, I don't want to be on a drug again in 5 years, man. This drug is harsh. So I said to my doctor, is there a way to go longer than this? She said, no, that's about what it takes. That's when I took my own advice that I was giving to other people who were morbidly obese, and I got into ketosis. And I've been living in dietary ketosis for 17 years. My cancer just came back after 17 years. Now, I went over 3 times the amount of time they told me it would take to get cancer. No one's studying me, right? I go back in, I do the chemo again, and within a week or two, my doctor's telling me your numbers are coming back already. We never see this. I was taking prophylactic drugs around the chemo. They took me off of everything. I was supposed to be on them for months. I was on them for about a week, maybe a week and a half. They pulled me off because my blood numbers were coming back.
What?
I was able to get on my spinner through chemo. I was getting infusions every day for 7 days. I got on my spinner or my rowing machine every day. Now, I wasn't kicking ass on those devices, but I was able to spend at least an hour a day on one or the other, right? I couldn't leave my house and go to the gym because I was immunocompromised. So I couldn't go lift weights or anything. All of my numbers are coming back. They released me to go, I can fly again because my neutrophils are back in such a way that I can fly. And my white blood cells have come back. The only thing where I'm anemic is my red blood cells aren't totally back yet. But I was out on the water rowing this past weekend. The water's in that direction. I'm pointing as if you know where I am.
That is awesome. I'm so
Yeah.
happy to hear that. I'm really happy to hear that.
It's like, okay, is anyone studying the 61-year-old guy who is popping back and was taken off of all of the prophylactic drugs? It was giving me hell anyway. It was causing hives and everything. So the doctor was like, your numbers are coming back. We might as well just take you off, right? I'm on no medication, none. And all of my numbers are coming up, all of them.
Well, I mean, I
right?
don't know. I can't remember if you had this guy on your show or not, but I had Dr. Thomas Seyfried on my show, and he's doing research on the ketogenic diet and cancer. He believes cancer is a metabolic disease, and he's getting amazing results, especially like with this one guy who had an inoperable brain tumor, so they couldn't do anything. They're like,
Right.
you're going to be dead in 6 months or a year or whatever. He started a ketogenic diet. Now he's lived, I don't know what is like 7, 5, 10 years, something past that. So, I mean, I don't know why we're not studying this more, at least.
Thomas has been on the show a few times. I had him on recently again. And he would say that, even though he goes, look, eating a low carb ketogenic diet won't say that you'll never get cancer. But if you do, the
Hmm.
markers are very clear, right? And you can actually come back from it. Now, there's a woman, she's a registered dietitian named Michelle Hearn. You should have her on your show. I'm telling
Okay.
you, you should have.
No, yeah,
Michelle,
yeah, Anthony too. If I can get him, yeah, I'd love to have him.
sure. Yeah, just hit me up off the air. I'll get you Anthony and Michelle. I'll get you both of them. Um, I'm hoping you mean Anthony Chafee, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay, yeah, that's the only Anthony I know.
yeah.
I'm Italian. I'm lying. I know a lot of Anthony's. Um, so Michelle Hearn's wife had, I want to say, she'll tell you when she comes on, she'll stage 3 or stage 4 breast cancer. And she immediately put her wife on a ketogenic diet and measured ketones and did everything. And the margins were so clear that they were able to capture like stage 4. Like she'll tell you, I don't want to
Okay.
misrepresent.
No, that sounds amazing. That sounds like
She
perfect.
ended up taking way less chemo. She ended up all of the stuff that Thomas Seyfried talks about. Me, you know, Michelle's wife, Corrine, all of us, same shit, right? Am I making this up? No. I'm planning on, I don't know if I'm going to make it to the top. I don't know if I'm going to get my red blood cells back. Within 30 days, I'm planning on going up to the top of Whitney, which is the highest point in the lower 48. It's 14,500 feet. I'm planning on climbing that in mid-July, right? Come on. How many people can say they went on chemo, they went off of all the drugs, and now they're climbing to the highest point in the lower 48? Now, I haven't done it yet. I might have to turn around at 10,000 feet. I don't know,
Have
but
you
I'm
ever
sure.
done it before?
Yeah, like 8 or 10 times. Yeah.
Oh,
I climb
damn.
a lot. I used to, I've climbed Europe. I've been to Grand Paradiso, Mont Blanc. I've done a bunch of them. Yeah.
Wow. Do you do free climbing, or how do you like rappelling, or what? How does it?
No, I was never into ice climbing because there was never enough ice around me. But I used to do a lot of rock climbing and that sort of thing. But most of what I do, I pussy out now. I take, the trails. And when I go to Europe, like when I'm on a glacier, I hire um, mountaineers to go with me because the way you die on mountains is you fall into a crevasse because there could be an
Mm.
ice bridge over a crevasse.
Oh,
And when you hire a guide, they know how to guide you around the ice bridges in a crevasse, and they know which ice bridges are going to be strong enough to hold you. And you're hooked in on a rope and that kind of thing. So yeah, even at my age, I still love going high. I like to. That's how I get high, man.
yeah. I love
I
it. That's
get
fucking
high, man.
awesome.
Mountains.
I
So
wouldn't even call that pussing out. Like I would say, like that's still amazing that you're hitting higher places than I am. So I mean, geez, it's like I need to
yeah,
kick it up a notch, I guess.
yeah. Look, it's all in what you do. People go, "Why do you still do that stuff?" It's like because I don't want you get old when you decide you're going to get old, right? And you know, I still go hunting. I still go fishing. I do everything. I don't get out on rocks anymore, rock climbing, but there's a local gym where I can go. We call it pulling plastic. I'll go to a rock climbing gym just to stay sharp. Just to mess around, just to move around. I'll tell you a short story. Not that you want to hear it, but during the pandemic, early on, like in the first week, I realized this might go on for a while. So I called Concept 2 and had a Concept 2 rowing machine sent to my house. And during that first year of the pandemic, my wife, I'm very bad with technology. She hooked the gauge up and it Bluetooths right onto my computer. So Concept 2 keeps all of the data. And one day I just meandered onto the site and looked. And in that first, it wasn't even a whole year. They count from May to May as their fiscal year. So I got it that July, June or July. So by the time May came around, I had over 2 million meters. It's like, Jesus Christ, 2 million meters, that's a lot of meters. So now I'm paying attention to it. So the next year I did, another 2 million meters. And before I knew it, I was like 5, 6 million meters or whatever. I decided, wait a minute, I don't know how to row on water. So then I took a class where I'm living now, and they had a learn to row class. I learned a whole new sport. Everyone talks about the pandemic. The pandemic gave me rowing. I now go on the water and row, and I still use my Concept 2 to stay in shape. But I'm doing a whole new sport. Most people don't do that when they hit their 60s, right? They start doing old people shit. I'm still doing young people shit.
No, I love that. That's an inspiration for me. I mean, I'm 46 and I feel like I'm hitting my stride. Like I feel like I'm much happier and healthier than I've ever been. And I want to do more shit like that, challenge myself. I mean, I feel like isn't that what life is about? Is like pushing yourself and challenging yourself
Yeah.
and trying new things?
Yeah, that's the way I feel. I mean, I have that thing of I'm not going to be dead until I'm dead,
Yeah.
right? And I'm going to live, there's a song by Tim McGraw, Live Like You Were Dying, right? And that's what you need to do. Hey, Chuck, is it possible that we put the podcast on hold because I have to do something for 1 minute and I can be right back? Is that possible?
Yeah, I can actually pause the recording. Yep.
All right, pause it.
Okay. And we're back. It's just like a old TV show with a commercial. Like fun time. Remember those commercials? Like nobody has to watch those anymore with the streaming and stuff.
You know what's crazy is I never see, because I cut cable a long time ago, but it's when we moved here, somehow my wife had to put this, so we have like Xfinity or whatever, and I never see commercials except for football games.
Right. Sports.
'Cause I get Sunday ticket or one of those deals because I like watching NFL. And so I get to see a lot of Modelo ads and a lot of beer ads, but they'll also run like Ozempic and Jardiance and, just, Sky Rizzy. You see, I remember all the names, right?
Yeah.
Uh, you
Well,
know,
you talk about, I don't want to spoil the Dirty Keto, but you talk about Ozempic in the film, and that part was
yeah.
really eye-opening to me.
Yeah, and I didn't do the talking. I let one of the foremost authorities in the world, Ben Bigman, do the talking.
Yeah.
And pretty compelling stuff if you think about it.
Yeah. Can I explain how the drug works? That won't spoil the movie, does it?
No, you can't spoil the movie.
Okay. Yeah, because it's just interesting because it says what he said in the film was that you take this drug and it like the Ozempic is different too than the Wegovy, I think is it's like the next level Ozempic. So Ozempic was
Yeah,
like,
well, it's all GLP-1s, but
yeah,
one is way stronger than the other. Wegovy is way stronger than Ozempic.
right. So like Ozempic, it was like it slows down digestion. I forget, I think I wrote down the term. It's like peristalsis or something like that is the word. And it's
Yeah.
like the digestion in your stomach so that so then you're like, oh, I'm full. I'm not hungry. And so it makes sense. Okay. But then like with the Wegovy, it's like instead of like having the food slow down maybe for like a day, it said it could be up to 5 days that this
Yeah.
cheeseburger, whatever you ate, is sitting in your stomach and it's like rotting. So then you burp and you're like, oh, why does this burp taste so bad? It's because it's rotting food in your stomach. And so I was like, when I heard that, I was like, wow, I don't think people understand how these drugs are working. And then the scary thing is how many people are taking them now and what they project to how many people are going to be taking them. To me, this it scares the shit out of me. I don't know. Just as somebody again who cares about people, I'm not going to take it, so
Yeah.
I'm going to be fine. But I'm worried about the people that are taking them, that they don't know what they're getting into. They just want to lose weight. They want to be healthy, and then it's going to cause all these problems. And I care about people. I hope that's that they know what they're doing.
They don't know what they're doing, but look, I have a relative who's taking it because she said that, far be it she ever listened to me. I mean, I've tried to get her to listen for years and, but she's taking it. She's lost some weight. probably lost 100 pounds on it, but she still has another 300 pounds to lose, right? She couldn't walk anymore. She was that kind of heavy. And, more power to her. But the bottom line is, you think about people, you're going, oh, they're taking this drug now. But hell, you know what we were doing 5 minutes ago? We were cutting stomachs out, which is even more archaic than this. At least with this, you get to keep your stomach. But yeah, I've talked to a lot of people. They'll say, yeah, with Wegovy, whenever you burp, it's like you're burping up roadkill. Can you imagine? The food gets putrid in your stomach and
Yeah.
burps like roadkill. I mean, I get nauseous even thinking about that.
And this is not, this is just my opinion, or like, I don't know if you call it a conspiracy or whatever. I don't have any evidence of this or fact, but you probably saw that story the other day about Oprah getting some sort of stomach bug. Do you think, because I think she's been open about taking these semiglutides, do you
I
think
didn't
that,
even see it, so I
yeah,
wouldn't.
well, she went to the hospital. They said she had some stomach bug, and I was like, this is seeming a little suspicious. Like, I don't know, maybe this is a conspiracy, but I wonder if she's taking the semiglutides, it's causing, the food to sit in there and rot. Then you're more susceptible to bacteria because your good bacteria is not, your food's not digesting. So you're more susceptible to catching a stomach bug of some sorts. I mean, is that a side effect of these drugs?
Again, you would have to ask a Ben Bigman or one of those guys. I haven't heard of many people getting these type of side, so I don't know. Um, that's way beyond my scope. But look, as I say about every drug, the reason I didn't, a doctor goes, yeah, just come back in 5 years, we'll knock your cancer back again, right? Every drug, for the plus side, there's usually bigger negative sides, right? So, and the average American now, after a certain age, I can't remember the number, is taking like 5 medications. That's like the average American. That's a crazy number. I was telling this story on my show. When I went in to see my new cancer doctor, the nurse practitioner came back to me. She was like, hey, Vin, you left this whole section out. You need to fill this out. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought I filled out the whole thing. She goes, no, you didn't list your medications. And it's like, I'm not on any medication. She was like, well, no. Which medications are you taking now? And I said, I'm not. She goes, so you're on no medications?
Yeah.
None. She looked at me as if I was the crazy guy because I'm 61 years old and I'm not on any medication at all. Right. And she couldn't wrap her mind around that. They just don't see it.
Yeah.
She thought I just left that whole thing blank.
Right. Well, it's so interesting. I saw this clip from another podcast. I don't know if you've ever seen Patrick David Bett. I think he's like an owner of the Yankees, and then now he has like a podcast. So of course everyone watches his podcast because he owned the Yankees. So they're like, oh, like you must be successful. But anyways, he
Right.
was talking about, like, okay, like let's say you own a hotel, you want to get 90% occupancy, right, to make
Right.
money on your hotel. And then he's like, okay, now how do you think it works with hospitals? Do you think they want to have like 40% occupancy in the hospital? And then, same when you look at pharmaceutical companies, when they're, they need the, mainstream media. A lot of these companies are thriving and profiting off chaos and problems. And so when people are healthy and people are doing well, they're not making money. I mean, it's just something to think about at least.
Well, look, the same thing during COVID. They were going, these hospitals are at capacity. Guess what? Hospitals are always at capacity. They're kicking people out to turn the bed over to get another sick person in so I can get more money. They used to say, oh, stay for a couple of days, we'll fix you up. Now, you have a baby and they're not, it's like they're cutting the umbilical cord on the way out of the thing. Get out of here. We got to move along, right? It's like, yeah, hospitals are always running at capacity or trying to run close to it. And if they're not, they'll get a new manager in there to run the place to get it up to capacity. They'll figure out how to make it happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy's absolutely right.
It just seems like something like my brother was saying when they had their baby, they kept trying to like almost like upsell them. Like, like if you go to a restaurant and like the waitress is like, would you like some fajita poppers? Like trying to sell you an appetizer so that your bill's bigger. It's like they were
Right.
doing that at the doctor's office, which is, I mean, that's kind of scary. Like when you should just be treating the patient for what they need. I mean, yeah, sometimes you go in with a gunshot wound, you need a surgery. Like I understand that, but if you're going in and you have a stomach pain, I mean, I would think surgery and pills is like probably the lot. You want to try some other things first.
It's just scary what goes on. And I tell everyone, you know, when you go in, you need to advocate for yourself.
Yes.
You really do. You have to ask a lot of questions. You know, don't care how annoyed you're making the doctor, ask questions. And if you don't like the answers, go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, it's your health, and that's the thing is like the doctor's going to try to diagnose you and figure out a pill or whatever in like a 15-minute period, but you could spend hours on the internet researching other people with similar conditions with similar test results as you. What did they do? What worked? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of bad information and misinformation on the internet too. You have to be careful and you have to wade through that, but I mean, eventually I feel like a lot of people, if you're smart and you're able to research correctly, you can come to the conclusions of what the best course of action for you is.
Yeah, look, you know, I'll give a different example. You know, I played football all the way through college. And so, you know, I have bone on bone in my neck in two spots. And I got to a point a couple of years ago where I was just in chronic pain all the time. And sometimes when I turned my neck a certain way, I would like see spots and almost black out, right? So I go to a neurologist and he does MRIs and x-rays and he goes, yeah, you have bone on bone and you're crushing a nerve in there. And I said, well, how do we fix this? And he goes, well, we'd have to go in, we would have to remove one of your vertebrae and put in a fake vertebrae. And I said, well, that's real close to my spinal. They don't remove the whole vertebrae. They put in like a new piece of um, meniscus in there, right? And they jimmy it up. I say, wait a minute, you're taking a knife to pretty close to my spinal cord. Yes, we are. Okay. I don't know if I want to do that just yet. I'm in a
Yeah,
lot.
that's the risk of like you could be in a
Yeah.
wheelchair or something.
And he's like, well, it's the only way to get out of pain. He goes, we can send you to a pain doctor. So they send me
Oh
to a
shit.
pain doctor. So I go to this guy and I said, Doc, listen, no meds. I'm not taking any class C narcotics. I see how that ends up and all that. I'm not doing it. He goes, well, there's not a whole lot I can do for you. You're going to either have to get the surgery or take the class C narcotics, or you're just living in pain. So I came home and I was very dejected. And hell, I could probably show you from where I'm sitting. Yeah, I can. I'm going to show you how serious I am about this.
Oh boy.
This thing right here. Can you see what I have here?
Yeah, some sort of like harness or something.
And rubber bands. So you see what I have there, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I had this old, you know, neck, you know, thing that, you know, you work your neck out with. And it was sitting in, I call it my basket of goodies, like exercise stuff that you never use, you know, stuff like, you know, neck harnesses and that kind of thing. It's like, I have a neck harness in there somewhere. So I started using the neck harness just to work the back of my neck. And then I figured out to use rubber bands where I can hook the rubber bands to the front of the harness and then hook it to my weightlifting rack and start working the front of my neck. And then I figured out ways to hook the rubber bands to the side so I can just start moving my neck with very, very light rubber bands. Right. And my deal was, you know, I know arthritis likes to be moved. It hurt like hell to do these exercises, you know, but I wasn't trying to overdo it or use, I got really skinny rubber bands and I was just barely doing it and moving around. Within a week or so, I noticed some relief. I was like, ah, maybe I'm just having a good day. But I just kept doing the exercises every other day without fail. It's been probably 2 years now, and I'm relatively out of pain, like no pain. Now, one guy wanted to chop on my neck, and the other guy wanted to give me Class C narcotics. No one suggested. As a matter of fact, I said physical therapy, and they were like, yeah, but we could give you 12 sessions, but it's not going to do anything. You know, if you want to go, we'll give you 12 sessions. Your insurance will pay for it. So it's like, Okay, I'm not going to do that because you said it's not going to do anything. I was able to live. I'm pain free now. Now, do I have bad days sometimes if I do something stupid in the gym? Sure. Yeah, I do. If I come back from a hike where I had a 40-pound pack on my back and I'm pulling on my traps for a long time, will I have extra pain? Absolutely, but I would probably have that anyway. But here we are, relatively no pain, just by coming up with this stupid little routine for myself.
Oh, it's
Crazy.
so crazy. Like I love to hear these stories. It's so inspirational, and but it also is sad and upsetting because so many other people are getting fucked over by stuff like this, where they're just taking these pills that. And I saw it in the schools. I used to be a school counselor, and I saw all these kids on ADHD medicine and antidepressants. And I'm not saying no kid should ever take that. Maybe some kids do need it, but I would say rarely should any kid be on a psychiatric medicine. I mean, it's very dangerous. It's much more dangerous to be on those meds, in my opinion.
Both of my parents were school teachers. They were in a classroom. My mom for 36 years. My dad was in a classroom for probably 20 years, but then became a principal and then ended up in the school board office. So they were both in education for well over 35 years. And when ADHD drugs and ADD drugs started coming around, I said, what is this all of a sudden? My mom goes, simply, it's lazy teachers. It's lazy teachers. Because my mom reminded me, she goes, you were a kid that was bouncing off the walls, right? And, the aforementioned Howie Mandel, he and I used to have conversations. He couldn't sit still in school. He never graduated high school. Most people don't know that. He talks about it in a book. But he left high school at 16 because he couldn't pay attention, right? He was just bouncing off the walls. I've done pretty well in life. Howie Mandel has done amazing in life, right? And we would have both been on mind numbing drugs and have gotten nowhere otherwise. But that's what we're doing now. We're just putting kids on mind numbing drugs.
Yeah, it's really sad. I think Tony Robbins talks about this too, because I think he had the same kind of thing. I think I don't know if he finished high school or not, but he had a lot of issues too. And he's talking about how like the schools were designed during the I think it was an industrial revolution where it was like your job was like sit down, shut up, don't talk to your neighbor, build your little part or whatever, then move on. Like, and it's like we got these kids sitting in a chair and it's trying to read, and then now they're doing like paper books still. I feel like they're just not moving on with the technology, and it's just so I'm so glad I'm out of it now because now there's all these other psychiatric issues happening and furries and all this random weird thing that I just don't, as a counselor, I don't even know how I would deal with these kinds of issues that kids are having. And I heard you talking to one of your episodes, you were talking to someone about it and you were asking about, like the school shooters and stuff. I mean, it's just like, is nutrition, not saying that if we change all the kids' diets, we knock out school shootings, but is nutrition, is that a piece of this? Is there a piece of that that's going on where kids are unhappy, their mental health is not because I saw it with the nutrition. You walk in the cafeteria at a school, I mean, what they're feeding kids is just pure poison, in my opinion. It's just garbage, shit, like nachos and pizza and hamburger, not like, special Friday. This is like every day.
Yeah. Gina Grad always tells me that she sees what her kid brings home from school. And sometimes she'll photograph it and send me a text with it. Gina Grad, for your audience, is one of my co-hosts of my podcast. And do I think food is a part of it? Maybe. Um, when I talk to these psychologists and psychiatrists that come on the show that deal with kids that do these heinous things, they're disenfranchised, so is it just food? No. They end up in a basement somewhere, alone, playing video games and doing crazy things. And it's easy for a parent to sit there and go, well, at least Johnny's being quiet, right? But they don't realize is Johnny's building a fucking pipe bomb and figuring out how to get a gun on the internet or whatever they do. Or, I mean, in most of these things, they get the gun from a parent. There was one of them recently. I got the gun from the parent went and bought the gun for the kid. And you know, you see these heinous things like Sandy Hook and all this stuff. It's really sad. And the guy that walks into the theater and starts shooting at people, it's just crazy. And of course, the media goes guns, guns, guns. Well, yeah, we have a lot of guns in this country, but the guns don't pull the trigger themselves, right? Something happens to cause that to happen, and we need to address that, right? We need to figure out what that is. Is food part of it? Probably, but I'm not qualified to answer that. You know, a lot of these people need psychiatric help. I mean, that one guy the mom gave him the gun, then he shot the mom and then shot up something. It's like I could just go on and on and on. When I talk to these people, it's like, yeah, they're disenfranchised. They become numb to society, and they don't even know that they're killing people. Like they're so disassociated with everyone else, they don't know what they're doing. They literally become monsters. And that's about all I can say on it. You might know more about it than I do.
Yeah, I actually had a psychologist who wrote book warning signs. I think he's written like 3 books about school shootings. Dr. Peter Langman. If anyone's interested, watch that episode. I mean, the main thing, my takeaway from that was just that almost with like I would say like 95 to 99% of these things, there's huge warning signs that people are missing. And if we were all educated on that, and through the news, like I told him, I go, you should be on CNN and Fox, and you should be on all these things. Like people, every time there's a shooting, you should go on there. And I don't think he's hardly ever been on there, if ever. And to educate people about the warning signs, we could prevent a lot of it. But I think the deeper issue to me is kind of like what you're saying. Like, why do these kids want to have this desire, whether it's with a gun or a pipe bomb or what was the thing in the Boston bomber used, the pressure cooker or whatever? I mean, when you
Yeah.
have a dark seated desire to hurt other people, that's the issue that I'm concerned about. And beyond that, I think there's a lot of, I don't know, what is it, 30-40% of kids are having mental health issues at this point. Like kids are just, there's a lot of kids, a high percentage that are unhappy, and whether they want to hurt someone else or just hurt themselves, like either way, like that's a problem that we need to look at. I think it's like just something that's not talked about enough personally.
Yeah, I wish I had more information on it.
Yeah.
I just don't, that's not my forte, but it's sad, and I wish there's something we can do about it.
Yeah. I just
And
think all these issues are related with nutrition and happiness and health and mental health. I think it goes hand in hand. Like you said at the beginning, if you're 400 pounds, you're not happy. And that concerns me as someone, again, who cares about people. I'm not 400 pounds, but I'm concerned for the person who is, and I want them to live a happy and healthy life. And I'll do whatever I can to try to help them. And
yeah, we can only help people that want to be helped, and that's what I try to do. People write to me all the time and say, "Hey, would you talk to my mother? Would you talk to my father? Would you?" It's like, do they want to talk to me? Right? Because I hate when people, I do consults and people will sign up a spouse, and I'll get on the phone with them and I'll say, "Do you know who I am?" They go, "No. My wife told me I need to talk to you." And I'll go, "Okay. Do you want to talk to me?" "Not really." I was like, "All right, you know what? Here's what we'll do. I'm so sorry that this happened, that someone put you up to this. Um, I will refund your money. No love lost. We're good." Right. And sometimes they'll end up saying, "You know what? You seem like a nice guy. Let's talk anyway." And I've been able to help a few people that way. And other people say, "Yeah, I'm really not into it. Thank you for doing that. And if I ever consider doing this, I'll call you back." But I'm not going to sit there and take someone's money if someone's putting them up to it. You have to want to do it. You have to want to make a difference, right? So
yeah,
that's the way I run things.
I agree. And I think to me, the first step, the first, is just, if you're unhappy, start learning, start doing research, start listening to podcasts, start reading books, start educating yourself about nutrition and mental health or whatever, how to be happier. Like I said, look at people who are happy and healthy and ask them, hey, what do you do? What's your secret? And just start going down the rabbit hole. And I think that you'll get good results either way. Maybe you don't have the same rabbit hole as me. Maybe you do end up being vegan, but maybe for you that works. I mean, I still think eating a bunch of fruits and vegetables is better than eating McDonald's and Burger King every
Oh,
day. So
so much so. I mean, eating a whole food diet and
yeah,
staying away from processed food is the number one thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not carnivore. I don't go full carnivore. I've considered it, but I mean, I'm more of an omnivore. And my trainers want me to eat more carbs, which scares me, but I mean, I'm just trying to do what they tell me to do. Yeah,
Yeah, the only carbs I eat are vegetables.
yeah,
So,
that's good. Good stuff. Well, I know you got to get going. I appreciate you
yeah.
taking the time to do this. And the movie is called Dirty Keto. It will be on Amazon, and we don't have an exact date, but if I'm posting this episode, then I think you've given me the okay, and that means it's coming out.
Yeah, it was supposed to be out on the 30th of May, and we're on the 17th of June, and no one's given me an answer as to why they haven't dropped it. Everyone I've talked to said they've never seen anything like this before, so maybe they're finding that movie too controversial, and if they are, I'll find a different platform. But as of right now, I'm trying to get it released on Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the comedians that I've had on, they're just putting their specials out on YouTube. But then two of them who are actually, ironically, they're more liberal, far left comedians, and they got censored for using bad, naughty language, and so now they're fighting they had to like get somebody at YouTube to take the ban
It's
or whatever
all
off
crazy. Yeah, it's
the
just
whole
all
thing. So I wish you the best, and keep me posted when the movie's out, and I will drop this episode.
Thanks, man.
Okay, thanks, Vinny.